You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. If you want to have a mini PC and want to have some crazy emulation performance, these three are absolutely great machines. But which one is the best one for you? Because when it comes to price range but also specifications, sometimes you're not going to be needing the most powerful one. I think it's particular when you're looking into Windows gaming, there we're having a significant differences between the three machines, in particular when it comes of course with the 12th generation, the i9 and of course the RTX, and recalling it, it was even a 3050 Ti. So let's get some machines out of the way and let's take a close look at the first model over here. So this model is also known as the Super Console X G6. Yeah, they're just slapping a Bata 0 drive. That's basically a full Linux operating system with emulators. Did a full review about that, but we can do so much more because it also comes with internal Windows 11 and can play all kinds of cool games. The GTX card is not the most powerful one out there, but it still was capable of running a lot of cool games. So let's take a close look at this machine. The Super Console X G6. It's just an Intel mini PC. Comes with an i9, but it's a 9th generation, in combination with the GTX 1650. But it comes also with the Intel HD Graphics 630, 60GB of DDR4 single channel, and later on we're going to be upgrading this to dual channel to get a very clean look. We have like the on-off switch over here, but the only thing is like we don't have any USB ports. A little bit of a bummer because I really love to plug in the controllers at the front part. On both sides we're going to get ventilation over here, and at the back we're going to get all of the connections, and we do have like some interesting ones. To begin with, we do get a jack out, RJ45 internet, we do get 4 ports USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, HDMI, display port and Type C for charging, and we're going to get ourselves the input for the power supply. Okay, so next up, let's take a close look at the menu itself. Loading times will take up a couple of minutes, but when loaded up, we're ready to go. Okay, let's start off with some Sega Dreamcast, but not we're going to do this basic resolution with 640 by 480. We're just going to push it up to the full HD just to see how it runs. But with a system with this kind of power, you just need to have like the best, let's say, resolution set to it, because that's what we're going to basically paying for. Okay, so next up some GoldenEye with N64. I put it also on high resolution, something I don't do very often, especially with the cheap boxer, but I'm more like, yeah, what the heck, let's push it up all the way to full HD just to see how it runs. You can see some minor glitching in the menu, but it is more like an emulator problem. Let's see how the gameplay in general is. Now we need to figure out which button it is. Alright, so next up I wanted to play some PlayStation 1 with full HD resolution in combination with DuckStation, just to see how it runs and how stable it is. Of course, now we have like such a powerful box that we can play easily games like this on higher resolutions. Pretty damn cool. Okay, so next up GameCube with 720p, just to see how far we can push this bad boy. Alright, so let's see how it runs on 720p. Oh crap, wrong button. I needed to like mess around with the settings because the normal settings were absolutely garbage when it comes to this game and PlayStation 3. I can say like the mini PC is going turbo mode now, so basically this thing push it to the limit. I'm curious if we can actually play some PlayStation 3 with Ridge Racer now. In the previous Super Console X mini PC they had a lot of issues because it was not powerful enough, but with power like this it should be having no problem whatsoever. Moving on to the PlayStation 2 with 4K upscaling in Windows, and still get those weird lines somehow, but when you're looking at them you can see that it forces the GPU to 100%. PlayStation 3, amazing. When you're looking at this, very fast loading times. Getting into God of War or PlayStation Portable with the PP emulator, forcing this thing to all settings set to high, in other words 10 times upscaled rendering resolution. Has some choppy image, let's say warning in the beginning, but the overall performance is quite nice. Red Dream Windows, I just wanted to check out how far we can push it, so let's go into the 4K rendering resolution, and this seems to be working without any problem whatsoever. Okay, so long story short, if you want to get some Windows gaming going on, yeah, I've noticed that this machine is not the most powerful, but also it lacks power when it comes to like say AAA games. Of course, for this tiny form factor, it's amazing what you can do with it. But for emulation, you do have some great performance. All the way up to PlayStation 3, we can just play without it, any problems. And not to forget, yeah, if you want to start upscaling, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, you did notice with 4K upscaling, we did have some problems, so we need to have some limitations there. But still, if you want to play it on 1080p, great performance, and this is maybe one of the cheaper ones, and it can be a great option for you. Okay, so another machine is this very nice stylish case. I personally, it's one of my favorite ones because of the case design. It's very nice metal look at the bottom plate. It is also slightly plastic fantastic, but the case with the front USB, even a front headphone, if you're going to have like a very cool like two, let's say screen setup, you can put this thing under your monitor and just use this thing. It's very functional. But it comes with an, let's say an i9, but also it comes with more powerful GPU. But let's take a close look at some Windows game because there we're having some amazing overall performance. On the picture this thing doesn't look that great, but in real life, man, this thing is heavy and it looks great. So when it comes to the connectivity and the ports, let's talk about it first. At the front we're going to get ourselves a very nice clean look, but with the clean look we do have ourselves a headphone jack at the front, then the on-off switch and two USB 2.0 ports. With the connection at the back, there we're going to get a lot of options. So first of all, we're going to get ourselves here the input for the power supply, then an RJ45 Ethernet, 4 USB ports that are 3.0, 2 normal HDMI connections, and Type-C in display port, and here at the end we're even going to get ourselves another 2 2.0 USB ports. Okay, it's time for the specifications. The Intel Core i9, the 10th generation, also known as the Comet Lake, with a max TDP of 45 watts will be inside of the machine. Next up, the mainboard. There's not a lot of information about it, who made it or whatsoever, just says and it comes with a PCI Express 3.0 bus connection. Memory wise, here we're having the DDR4 60GB dual channel. More information about it is actually the DDR4 3200, and this device seems to be having an option for 4 slots where 2 of them have been filled, and it runs at 600 MHz. When it comes to the GPU, we're having the RTX 2060. I can still remember that I had this back in the day in one of those laptops. Also, this comes from the Lenovo manufacturer and 6GB storage that is made by Samsung. And that's actually what we're having when it comes to the specs. So with the PlayStation 2 emulator, I wanted to see to upscale it to 4K resolution, and that runs perfectly. The only weird thing is I'm having these lines throughout my screen that I can't really figure out to get away. But beside that, it seems to be running just fine when it comes to the overall FPS. And beside the lines, the image looks absolutely beautiful with the rendering resolution of 4K. Configuration of the i9, we have super fast loading times when loading up a game into the emulator, and that, can tell you, is very pleasant because it's something I've noticed and felt quite annoyed by with the lower power AMD and Intel chips.
The mechanical titan continued its siege, but a miserable pile of secrets.
So with God of War, I've noticed that it did struggle a little bit when putting this on the highest setting, 10x resolution, everything maxed out. But getting into the game further, didn't really notice any problem whatsoever. Also, God of War is very demanding, so even if this is a problem with different games, you can just have overall great performance.
On my mark! Fire! I must...
So where PlayStation Portable did struggle a little bit when it comes to the Dream Emulator and Dreamcast, we can play this on the 4K resolution without any problem whatsoever. But getting into the Xbox 360, here I've noticed a lot of issues, and the games I tried were not really playable, to the point that the emulator even crashed. GameCube and Wii emulation, also on the 4K resolution, and yeah, this was absolutely amazing when it comes to the overall experience. I had a lot of fun playing these old school games in higher resolutions. So in this case, for emulation, yeah, think about Xbox 360. We're not going to have enough power to run Xbox 360, but all the other ones seem to be running fine. So when you're doing a quick comparison with these two, so this is just fun for emulation and some, let's say, okay, older AAA gaming. But particular emulation, this thing is great. But if you want to have more Windows gaming, this particular model with the RTX 2060 is absolutely great. And it has just some cool performance, but of course has some limitation, including for some limitations when it comes to the emulation. Last but not least, and yeah, this is a very powerful one. It comes in a very strange looking case, and in my main review I told that it's a plastic fantastic situation. That is the reason why I just love it. I wish this specification was in this case, because man, this case is so nice, stylish, and the way how it's been cooled. But don't get me wrong, we'll talk about it later on when it comes to cooling. But this machine is absolutely cool with an RGB function, comes with an i9, an RTX 3050 Ti, and this thing is absolutely beast when it comes to also AAA Windows gaming. And this is where this thing makes absolutely a huge difference. So let's take a close look at it and let's have some fun. Going to have two USB connections just to the door, nothing fancy, and they are positioned in an okay position, and of course the on and off switch over there. Next up, we're having a lot of different connections at the back. For example, a lot of USB ports and two HDMI. So everything has been put to the back, including the microphone and the headphone, the RG45 and 4 USB 3.0 ports, and that is more than enough so far for most users. Two HDMI connections, no DisplayPort, Type-C, and of course the input for the power supply. At the front we will find this beautiful RGB LED. Unfortunate there is no way of adjusting this, or there is no software so far I know that you can have like something of a Razer Chroma going on. So that is also basic and nothing can be changed out. The device itself comes with the Intel Core i9-12900H, an Alder Lake having a max TDP of 45 watts. The manufacturer is JHZD. Nevertheless, we're having a bus specification of PCI Express 4.0. That brings us to the memory. DDR4, in total 16 GB has been implemented. DDR4 3200 running on 1600 MHz and having two of the same kind of memory sticks. Let's take a close look at the graphic card. This is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050 Ti and laptop GPU. So this thing has a TDP of 60 watts, 4 GB of memory, GDDR6. That's actually what we're getting when it comes to the specifications. Some PlayStation 2 and my favorite game Tekken 4. Nevertheless, we're having absolutely amazing overall performance with PlayStation 2, and you can even upscale it to higher resolutions if you want to without any problem. So what is really convenient if you're going to be loading up PlayStation 3 games with such a powerful chip, the loading times are so significantly shorter compared to, let's say, the low-end chips I've checked out in the past. And also when it comes to the resolution, here we can even upscale it a little bit and getting amazing PlayStation 3 emulation performance. PlayStation Portable, no restrictions, we can put it in the highest setting and everything set to the maximum level to make these games look absolutely stunning. Where we have amazing overall performance with Xbox Classic, you can see that it struggles with Xbox 360. Also depending what kind of emulator version you're using and what kind of game, in other words compatibility and of course CPU GPU combination. But it will push this thing to the limit. But with a lot of power, we have so many cool emulation possibilities. With the Dream Emulator for Dreamcast, we can even put it on the highest settings, no problem whatsoever. GameCube set to 4K resolution, and with a device also like this, we can just push this to the limit. Take consideration, I've been tweaking with it with some time, even putting some extra filter over it, but then I did get some, let's say, overall problems. But I just find that with the 4K resolution in this particular settings, we have absolutely great performance. You got boost power! Next up, the Wii emulation, and I was to check out with some solid colors, 4K resolution, and I do see some dips now and then. It's not to the point I find it unplayable, but take consideration with the Wii, we need to do some more tweaking in the future with different kind of games. Okay, so when you're looking at a powerful machine, this can just play a lot. When you're looking at the Windows gaming part, it can play all kinds of cool things. Street Fighter stakes, older games, you can just crank it all up with this thing. It's absolutely crazy. And also when it comes to overall emulation performance, PlayStation 2, 4K, GameCube 4K, we have tried a lot of these different things, and this can just run it all. But when you're looking at, let's say, what are my favorite ones? So basically, when you're looking at the versions, we're having 3 of them. So if you want to check out some, let's say, overall emulation performance, you want to have a little bit more power, so this thing is just more than enough for Windows emulation, but also when it comes to, let's say, some basic emulation with Vitacera. So this version over here is absolutely great. I love it. It's a little bit, it's basically between, like I say, the cheap and expensive one. So it also can see it with the specification. We have slightly better Windows overall performance. The same with emulation and upscaling, but I think if you just want to have everything, this thing is worth the money in my opinion. It's just absolutely great, has a lot of power. I wish it comes in this case. So, but overall, all of these things sound like a freaking vacuum cleaner when you're just cranking them up. So with overall emulation performance, it's absolutely cool. But this is just like the maximum power when it comes to, let's say, getting mini PCs. And I think this is one of my favorite 3 ones. I did full review, so if you want to see more information, check out the videos. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.